noted some new terms from this lesson. After that we can go through. Okay, anyway these terms you have to study now itself. Next class I will ask, then only I will continue our topic. So from this lesson we are getting some new terms. Start to write. First one, Subedar. What do you mean by Subedars? The chiefs of the province. It's commonly known as governors. Wherever Subedar comes, your mind that and all governors. That like that you have to take the meaning. Okay, some new terms first we have to familiar. After that we can go through the textbook, right? So, Subedars, the chief of the province, commonly known as governors. Okay? I think you have noted down. Next session, means next class, we will start from here, question answer session. So that time you have to be ready to answer. Then next one, Zamindars. That you know, landlords. Previous classes and all, you studied about Zamindars. So, big owners of land, or we can say land owners. Zamindars means land owners. Then, charter. So, this is charter. See, one document, official document stating what a ruler or government allows. A written document, that is charter. I am giving some new terms from this lesson, okay? Charter. What is the meaning of charter? It's an official document stating what a ruler or government allows. Then, mercantile. See, a business enterprise that makes profit. How they are getting profit? Through trade. Okay, business enterprise that makes profit primarily through trade. How they are getting profit? They are buying goods at cheap and selling them at higher price. Okay, what is mercantile? A business enterprise that makes profit primarily through trade, buying goods cheap rate and selling them at higher prices. That is mercantile. So what and all we have studied? First one Subedar, next Zamindar, next charter, and now mercantile. Okay? Then next term we can take from this lesson, puppet. Literally we can say toy that we can move strings. The term is used disapprovingly to refer to a person who is controlled by someone else. That is puppet. Who is controlled by someone else. Here we are taking this word for rulers. Means British company needs some puppet rulers. Okay, then they can control over them. So puppet, what is the meaning of puppet? The term is used disapprovingly to refer to a person who is controlled by someone else. Till here, once more. Subedar, the chief of the province, commonly known as governors. Zamindars, just take landlords. Please mute your device, please. Last 10 minutes we can discuss, okay? Then next one, charter. An official document stating what a ruler or government allows. mercantile business enterprise that makes profit primarily through trade. How they are making profit means we can say buying goods cheap rate and selling them at higher prices. Puppet. The term is used disapprovingly to refer to person who is controlled by someone else. This and all you know. Next one, negotiation. Formal discussion between people in order to find a solution. Negotiation, discussion between people in order to find a solution. Then from this lesson we are getting one term, subsidiary alliance. See, according to the term of this alliance, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent armed forces. They were to be protected by the company and had to pay for it. See, Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent forces. They were protected by the company, and for that they have to pay for the subsidiary forces. See, under Richard Wellesley as the Governor General, the Nawab of Oudh and Hyderabad were forced to give over parts of their territory because they had failed to pay for the alliance. So, subsidiary alliance. Okay. Then, paramountcy, just supreme, being supreme. Next one term we are getting from here, doctrine of lapse. Lord Dalhousie, the Governor General, from 1848 to 1856 devised the doctrine. It stated that a kingdom could be annexed if the king died without a male heir. So, annexed kingdoms and all, Satara, Udaipur, Jhansi, Sambalpur, Nagpur, Oudh, these and all, some kingdoms, annexation based upon this doctrine of lapse. So, what is doctrine of lapse? You can write like this. According to this rule, if an Indian ruler died without a male heir, that is, did not have his son, his kingdom would lapse. That is, become the part of the company. Okay. So, doctrine of lapse, this much enough for you. Okay, these and all the new terms we are getting from this lesson. Okay. You just noted down what and all we studied. Once more go through Subedar, Zamindars, charter, mercantile, puppet, negotiation, subsidiary alliance. Only this much you have to be noted down, okay? Paramountcy. The last one, doctrine of lapse. At least this much you have to be revise and come next session. Next session means next class I will ask. Okay. Then we can start our lesson. It's a very interesting lesson from trade to territory. Trade, I think you understood. Through trade, they are getting profit, buying cheap rate and selling at higher price. So this lesson we are going to learn how the British company came to India and established an empire. Now the British power began to emerge in India from the second half of the 18th century. You know, the British originally came a small trading company. A small trading company. And were reluctant to acquire territories. Okay, they came like this, very small trading, then how they become an empire, that and all we are studying from this lesson. See, the English, the Dutch, the French, they formed East India Company. They formed East India Company in order to expand commercial activities in the East. They formed East India Company. We can write EIC. We can use this abbreviation, East India Company, in order to expand commercial activities in the East. Okay. Then East India Company began trade in the East. Then previous classes you studied about Mughal dynasty, right? I think you know who was the last powerful Mughal ruler. Who was the last powerful Mughal ruler? Powerful Mughal ruler, Aurangzeb. Please mute your device. Okay, thank you. Aurangzeb. Okay. Then, so we understood East India Company formed, right? Then the East India Company persuaded Aurangzeb to issue the right to trade. The right to trade. How? Duty free. Duty free. Okay. We know he was a powerful leader. After his death, Nawabs, they also refused to grant these concessions to the company. So that led, means that dispute between the Nawabs and the company causes a famous battle, that is Battle of Plassey. That year also very important, in 1757. 1757. 1757, Battle of Plassey. The Battle of Plassey was the first victory of English East India Company and the formation of British India. Formation of British India. You know, during this period, Siraj-ud-Dawla became the Nawab of Bengal. Siraj-ud-Dawla became the Nawab of Bengal. He was totally against the concessions granted to the company. Okay? The company needed a puppet ruler. I think you know what is the meaning of puppet. Puppet ruler who would allow or who would issue whatever they need. That means who would issue all the rights. Very cunningly, East India Company supported Siraj-ud-Dawla's rivals to become Nawab. Okay? For that, Siraj-ud-Dawla became furious and asked the company to stop meddling. Meddling means interfering. Meddling in the political affairs of to stop meddling in the political affairs. Then he asked the company to stop building forts. Stop building forts. Then he asked, pay the revenues. Okay? For that time, Siraj-ud-Dawla became furious and asked the company, stop meddling in the political affairs, stop building forts and pay revenues. Then what they did? They refused to follow Siraj-ud-Dawla's order. Then Siraj-ud-Dawla marched along with 30,000 soldiers to attack the company and capture British officials. Then he marched to Calcutta in order to establish control over company officials. Okay? Then what and all happened, you know? On hearing the fall of Calcutta, the company officials in Madras, they sent forces under the command of Robert Clive So here what is happening, the dispute between Robert Clive and Siraj-ud-Dawla. Robert Clive and Siraj-ud-Dawla led to the famous Battle of Plassey in 1757. Battle of Plassey. Who and all there? Robert Clive and Siraj Dowlah. Okay, anyway, here Nawabs defeated Siraj Dowlah. After the defeat of, we can say after the defeat of Battle of Plassey, Siraj Dowlah was assassinated, and Mir Jafar was made Nawab of Bengal. One of the major reasons for the defeat was Mir Jafar never fought against the English, because Robert Clive had promised to make him Nawab. So, very cunningly Mir Jafar supported Robert Clive, never fought against them. Okay, Mir Jafar never fought against the British. That was a major reason for the defeat. Anyway, later on, Mir Jafar protested. He was forced to leave his power, and after that, who came there? Mir Qasim. Mir Qasim. When he raised his voice against the East India Company, then he was defeated in the Battle of Buxar. Next battle, Battle of Buxar. That is in 1764. Defeated. After that, again, who came? Again, Mir Jafar was made Nawab of Bengal. After his death, the company themselves decided to become Nawabs. Later on, the company officials become Nabobs. Okay, I think this much enough for you. 2-3 pages we got the idea. I think first we can complete like this, half of the portion from that lesson. Then after this, I am giving some video or presentation. Then we can take our textbook. Okay, this much I think you understood. See how we started. Lesson from Trade to Territory. What we are studying here, how the British India came, how the East India Company came to India and established an empire. Okay, the British power emerged from the second half of the 18th century. Then originally the British East India Company or British came here as a small trading company, were reluctant to acquire territories. Then East India Company formation by the English, the Dutch and the French. East India Company begins trade in Bengal. Then Aurangzeb was the last powerful Mughal ruler. Then the East India Company persuaded Aurangzeb to issue the right to trade, it is duty free. Then what is there? Battle of Plassey, 1757, very important this one, 1757. That means the conflict between the Nawabs and the Nawabs and East India Company. That time Siraj-ud-Dowla was Nawab of Bengal. Then the East India Company, they supported Siraj-ud-Dowla's rival. That time Siraj-ud-Dowla became furious and asking them to stop meddling in the political affairs. Meddling means interfering. Stop building forts. Please mute your audio, please. Disturbing. Stop building forts, then pay revenues. But they all refused, company refused. Then after that, Siraj-ud-Dowla marched along with the soldiers, then captured some officials, British officials. After that he marched to Calcutta. Okay. Then what and all there? Okay, Mir Qasim was made the Nawab. After defeat in Battle of Buxar, again Mir Jafar was made the Nawab of Bengal. After his death, I think Battle of Buxar in 1764, 1757, one second. You can take like this, in 1757, Battle of Plassey. Okay. In 1764, Battle of Buxar. Then again, this one, Mir Qasim, Plassey. Then after Mir Qasim, after the defeat of Battle of Buxar, after the defeat, who was made? Again Mir Jafar comes. After his death, East India Company themselves, they decide themselves to become Nawabs. Then what was happened? The British officials become Nabobs. Nabobs. Okay. So first part over. So today what and all we studied? Some terms we studied that you have to revise. Subedar, Zamindar, Mercantile, then puppet, doctrine of lapse, subsidiary alliance, then what and all there? Okay, these and all you have to be revised. Then once you go through the lesson, then tomorrow we can watch some videos or presentation based upon this topic, okay?
Mom, why have you come here?
I need to get some suit stitched.
something interesting to tell. Hey, hello, who are you? Hello, I'm JC. I was getting bored, so I thought I'll talk to you.
Okay, so what do you want to know?
When did this shop come into existence?
I started the shop in the middle of the 18th century, in 1750.
Oh, I never knew that this shop is that old. Was India free at that time?
Yes, it was, but only for some time. The East India Company, comprising of the English, Dutch, and the French, took over India in 1757.
But why did you start the shop when you knew the East India Company would take over?
I didn't know that they would. True, the East India Company was getting more and more powerful, but no one expected them to take over India. And I started the shop because the cloth business was booming at that time, thanks to the East India Company.
Oh, yes, they exported cloth from India, right?
Yes, indeed. The spurt in demand for goods like textiles led to a great expansion of the crafts of spinning, weaving, bleaching, dyeing.
So, how were the working conditions at that time?
The conditions became really bad once the East India Company took over, because they forced the craftsmen to work on contract basis.
Work on contract? What does that mean?
It means weavers no longer had the liberty of selling their own cloth or weaving their own patterns. They had to reproduce the designs supplied to them by the company's agents.
Were they paid less as well?
Well, yes. They had to work on a system of advances where they had to weave cloth which was already promised to European agents. It was at this time that the cities of Madras, Bombay, and Chennai gained importance.
Why was that?
The English East India Company felt that its trade centers should combine political, administrative, and commercial roles. So the company traders moved to Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras.
Oh, I would love to see how these cities were at that time.
But I can only take you to one place out of the three. You choose.
Wow, that would be brilliant. I would love to visit old Mumbai. But how?
Just come near the portrait, put your hand on it, and press your gadget. Now, at the count of three, you will reach Bombay. Start counting, and goodbye. See you later.
Okay, bye. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so this was how Bombay looked 2 centuries ago. No traffic, no cars, and the water so clean. let me ask that shopkeeper about the living conditions. Hey, could you tell me which year is this?
It's 1776, my boy.
So, is the East India Company ruling Mumbai now?
Oh, yes. Earlier, we had Indian traders like Mullah Abdul Ghaffur and Birji Bora, who owned a large number of ships.
So, what's happened to them now?
The English have taken over them. You see, all those ships over there? That is the British fleet. The European companies used their naval power to gain control of the sea trade and forced Indian traders to work as their agents.
But why don't I see any British men around?
That's because this part of Bombay is where all the native craftsmen and artisans stay. Do you see those huts?
So that's where you stay, isn't it?
Yes, that's a colony for craftsmen in Mumbai. Since the British have come, merchants and artisans, such as weavers, have been moved here. The blacks, or native traders and craftspersons, were confined here, known as Black Town.
And what about the British? Where do they stay?
The British have a huge colony in Colaba. All the whites stay there, and hence it is known as White Town. They have their military headquarters as well in Colaba. The white rulers occupied the superior residencies of Fort St. George in Madras or Fort St. William in Calcutta as well. Hey, I think that British officer is coming to buy something from my shop. I'd better go.
Okay, bye. I think I should also get back before Mom spots my absence.
So, what were you up to while I was gone?
Nothing, Mom. I was just exploring the shop.
Did you find something interesting?
Yes, I like this portrait. Hey, when was the portrait of your great-grandfather made?
How did you know about my great-grandfather? Well, I don't remember telling you any of this.
I just guessed.
Okay, thank you, children. I hope you understood the topic. Next day, we will continue the lesson. Thank you. Have a nice day.